Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron, who's become one of the clutchest players in NBA history as of recently.
So I have him going off one night, but I think he's just going to get tired. So that's why the Nets winning in 5.
I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Both teams that beat the Rangers are rebuilding faster than the Rangers.
Why'd you have to name them? Like, seriously. Thanks, man. To me, those top 2 starters are Lucas Gaelito and Lance Flynn.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew. Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more. I definitely think it's going to be a great series, and I'm interested to see how much Kaprizov can impact the game as a rookie.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
All I could think of was Dame.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now, if Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young.
The Hurricanes just have too much. They're probably the most complete team this year, and I anticipate them winning.
You know what this means, Bengals. Take the nice one. Do not let what happened to Andrew Luck happen to Joe Burrow.
Clippers versus the Nets. Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
But I have the Sixers versus Jazz.
Crazy. And for the fans at home, for the listeners at home.
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week for November 14th. Let us know how happy you are with your team's performance. And we're going to talk about last year's Super Bowl teams, the Bucs and the Chiefs. The Bucs lose once again, and the Chiefs win. Let's start with the Bucs. I'm not worried. Are you worried? You're probably not worried.
No. It's Tom Brady. He's going to have faults during the season, but the team's going to get together by the time the postseason starts, and they're going to be rolling.
And they're still without Gronk, correct? Gronk is still injured. That's a huge game changer just because of the chemistry Brady and Gronk have. Like, Gronk didn't play much last season, or I think he came halfway through, and like he was still getting into shape, and then the playoffs kicked in, and then that's when we saw the Gronk we are all used to seeing. So I think there's probably going to be a similar thing, and that's not a good thing for the Packers or the Cowboys, teams that we have a vested interest in. So I'm not worried. They're going to get in the playoffs, and that's all that matters when you have Tom Brady. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't think there's anything else we can add.
Yeah, that's all I can say. Now on to the Chiefs. They win, and they won in demoralizing fashion. The Raiders looked like they could take control of the division, and the Chiefs said, no, you are not. And I don't know if it's the Raiders just not being 100% because of everything they've been through, or if it's the Chiefs finally turning the page. But I need to see them do it against a real contender, and that's hard because I don't know if the AFC has any real contenders.
Yes, and I know 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago I said Chiefs aren't turning it on. And now I'm going back on what I said. I think they've turned it on because now they're at the top of the AFC West. So the thing in the AFC, like we're talking about the Bucs getting to the playoffs, for an NFC team to get in the playoffs doesn't mean you don't have a chance to go to the NFC. Well, you do have a chance, but really, from my point of view, you don't really have a chance unless you're the Bucs, Packers, maybe Rams, sort of Cowboys, but not really. Like, the main thing is Bucs, Packers, Rams. I would have said yes, definitely a week ago, but now I'm not really sure. With the AFC, though, there is no dominant team. Any team could win.
The Titans are close. The Titans are 8-2 and are looking good, but if Derrick Henry's not back, it changes everything.
But I could see a team beating them, and I wouldn't be that surprised because the AFC is just so wild. So all the Chiefs have to do is get hot
Survive.
and make it in, then you can go on a run. There's no
That's
dominant force like
yeah.
the
That's
Bucks.
the framework for every team right now with 5 wins. We'll get to this later, but there are a lot of teams who have 5 wins, and all of those teams have one blueprint: just make it to the playoffs and then just see what happens because everyone is close.
Yeah, let's just go into that, and then we'll talk about our the teams that we think have solidified them after that, if you're okay with that. So the teams that rank 2 to 12, all 5 or 6 wins: Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Steelers, Patriots, Chargers, Bengals, Raiders, Colts, Browns, and Broncos. So who is real? Bills are real. And I'll say who I think is real: Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Patriots, Chargers, and let me go Browns.
Very, very, very interesting picks. I'm gonna go with Bills. Yep, that's it. I don't
Really?
really. Yeah,
Wow.
the Ravens I need to see more from. The Chiefs I need to see more from. The Steelers are close, but because they almost won, even though it was against the Lions, they won with their backup quarterback almost. I mean, we've seen the Chiefs, not the Chiefs, the
Well, they
Packers.
tied. They tied with their backup quarterback. You said one.
Yeah, no, I said they didn't win.
Oh, okay. I
I,
heard one.
but the Packers and Cowboys had some success with their backups, even though the Packers didn't win. The Cowboys did. There's a lot of good teams out there. I mean, the Cardinals won with Colt McCoy and then lost this past week with Colt McCoy. So it's just the volatility of having a backup quarterback in there if you're a good team or not. I think the Patriots on the rise. I need one more good week though. I need one more impressive win. If they get one more, I'll be like, okay, they're legit. But a lot of these teams, Broncos, I have no idea what you're doing because you're good and then you're not good. The Browns, same thing. Colts, same thing. Raiders, same thing. Bengals, same thing. Chargers, you're getting up there, but I still need to see another impressive win. All of these are in order. And the Ravens almost losing the week before, and then losing this past week to the Dolphins. I just don't know what to think of them.
Real is playoff teams and could cause trouble in the playoffs, right?
Real in my mind is who is legit, who is making the playoffs, guaranteed, no mind. Who's real, who's gonna make it,
Okay, then
guaranteed.
I'd probably knock off Browns off my list, but that's the only team. The Patriots, I just don't. I don't know. I'm scared of the Patriots. I think you have to give them their respect because a they have a good they have a quarterback that you don't have to rely on him to win the game, if that makes sense. You have Bill Belichick, who I think can do well, and that's what makes the Patriots scary because they have Bill Belichick. And I think Mac Jones is a nice quarterback. He's not the best. He's not going to wow you, but he'll get the job done. So, Ravens, I just think Jim Harbaugh and that run game could really help, as Jim Harbaugh has in the past when they won the Super Bowl. They were a wild card team, and they were with Joe Flacco. Chiefs, I think just because I think they're starting to turn it on, which is worrying me. And then Chargers, I like Herbert. I like their defense. I like Brandon. Now I now I respect the hiring of Brandon Staley. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I think Eric Bieniemy or maybe the Bills offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
It's Brian DeBall.
oh yeah, Brian
I
DeBall, yeah.
looked it up. I think he would have been good just because of the young quarterback you have in Herbert, but they decided to go a different route. We'll see how that affects Herbert in the future. But right now it's doing well. And then Bills, just because I really like what they have in McDermott and Allen, but they could be knocked off. So those are our views of who we think is real. And we'll see. This could all change next week as the AFC is just so wild and it's incredible. NFC is a little bit wild, but not really, in my opinion, because I think you have to give the Bucks their respect.
Yeah,
The
the NFC
Chiefs,
is very top heavy,
the Chiefs, you don't. The Chiefs have lost that respect, in my opinion, because you're at 4 losses. Like if
and
you're
they
maybe at
almost lost to a Packers team without literally everybody.
Yeah, and their offense just looked clunky, and then you saw it in that final drive, and then we saw their offense take off against the Raiders. So we'll see how their offense does against a team who one of us disagrees with solidify themselves, and I'm surprisingly that one, and that's the Cowboys, Titans, and Packers. Have they Packers and Titans have definitely solidified themselves because of Mike Vrabel. Packers, I think you have to give that respect to Aaron Rodgers and just what Matt LaFleur has done. Even though he gets to the NFC Championship, we have yet to see him get past the NFC Championship, but they have solidified themselves as a team that can go far in the playoffs. I think just because of how Vrabel is able to work with what he has. Matt LaFleur has done that, but the backup, I feel a little bit different about the Packers with that loss to the Chiefs, even though you did have Jordan Love. But if they had won, then I'd probably be a lot higher. And then it'd probably prove for Coach of the Year candidate or Coach of the Year front runner for Matt LaFleur, as you have predicted in our predictions video. And then let's just talk about Packers Titans, and then we'll talk about Cowboys.
Yeah, so the Titans, without their best player on the team, Derrick Henry, they continue to win games. He obviously beat the Rams, who we'll get to later, are on a concerning trend. And then the Packers, they went again with a lot of guys injured. Their defense without Jair Alexander, a lot of other big pieces continue to perform well. They did it against the Chiefs. They held the Seahawks with Russell Wilson to 0 points, which is a very impressive total. And I've been very impressed by both of these teams. The Titans, if you're going to say, are there any contenders in the AFC, like true contenders, I think the Titans are the only ones I'd really put up there in that mark because of how impressive their season has been. They started off slow, and Julio Jones isn't even playing well. If he can turn it on, I'd be very surprised not to see them in the Super Bowl.
Even though the Titans did lose to the Jets in overtime. And then the other loss was to the Cardinals, which doesn't look that bad. It's just the Jets loss. So I think that keeps me from putting them into contender status. Um, so now to the Cowboys. I don't think they've solidified themselves yet, even though they came out with a great performance against the Falcons. They after whatever they decided to play against the Broncos, which was just awful. They came out and poor Falcons. Like no matter who it was, that offense was going to be firing, and I just love that offense with for the return of Gallup. Dak was back to being the MVP, playing at the MVP level. So I think he should definitely be considered that. This near the end of the year, if he keeps this up, just the level that pass to CD Lamb where he's just backpedaling and he tosses it up and he just finds CD Lamb wide open. It's just amazing, and it's such a good offense when you can have a guard who would probably start on most of these teams as our fullback. And I'm speaking of Connor McGovern. And then you just have Tony Pollard, Zeke, and the defense is doing enough, a little bit more than enough. Dan Quinn is really turning around Micah Parsons, and they're doing this without DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory and Neville Gallimore. So it's just if that defense can just do just enough, if it's an average defense, I think the Cowboys offense is just firing on all cylinders. It's amazing. But have they solidified themselves? No, because how do they respond to going on all cylinders against the Falcons and then playing the Chiefs, which is why I'm scared who the Chiefs are starting to fire on all cylinders, or they're getting there. They're starting to round into form. And I'm nervous about that. And then Cowboys also play the Cardinals. So I think there are a lot more tests needed with the Cowboys because of their past when they've shown glimpses, but then they just fall flat near the end of the season. So what do you think makes them solidify themselves, or have solidified themselves?
The reason why is because their schedule is not all that great for the rest of the year. All of their teams have 6 or less wins, and all of them, besides the Chiefs and the Cardinals, uh, have less than 6 wins. They play Washington twice, They play the Giants. They play the Eagles. They play the Saints, who are middling. They play the Raiders, who are middling. I just don't see how they could falter too much. I think a 13-4 record is almost guaranteed at this point, especially because even if they lose against the Chiefs, lose against the Cardinals, I don't see them losing another game. They obviously could lose one of those games. I just don't see it happening. They're firing on all cylinders, as you mentioned, especially on offense. And while their defense is a little bit injured, I still see them being able to hold on in most of these games. I wouldn't be surprised if they do lose to the Chiefs, but that won't really change my opinion. If they lose to a team who isn't hot like the Raiders, or if they lose to not anyone besides the Raiders, I know if they lose to anyone besides the Chiefs or Cardinals during this run, I'm gonna question myself. Well, are they legit? And right now, I do think they're legit, and I'd be very surprised if they have a record lower than 13-4.
I would not like the 13-4 record because that means they don't have it. They would not get the number one seed. I think they have a chance to get the number one seed, especially with the Bucks. And I think the Packers lose one game, and that's to the Ravens because y'all can't stop the quarterback.
So the
run.
Ravens lost to the. We just played Russell Wilson, and he didn't
Well,
hurt
Russell
his.
Wilson was
He didn't
not
hurt. He didn't hurt his legs.
traditional Russell Wilson. He
He hurt his
was,
hand. He didn't hurt his feet.
yeah, but he hurt his hand. You could see the thing on his finger, and some passes were just wonky. I think the
The Ravens
run
lost
game,
to
just
the
in general,
Dolphins.
yes, but the Titans, who you have a contender, lost to the Jets.
I don't think you understand. This is much more recent. The Titans game happened third week of the season, or fourth week of the season.
But still, the Jets.
Still, the Jets have played well in some games. They made some. The Jets beat the Bengals too. I
Well, the
wouldn't.
Bengals, they don't have a good head coach. He's
That's
not
in
a
your
good head
mind.
coach.
That's in your mind.
He's an average head coach. He's like Jason Garrett.
Okay.
Jason Garrett would have one great win, and then his team would just not play the next week. Kind of what we saw with the Cowboys and Broncos, even after the bye, and that just incredible one against the Vikings with Cooper Rush. But I just see the Ravens beating the Packers, but I thought a lot of teams would beat I thought it would be a much closer game between the Seahawks and Packers, and it just was not. It was just a bad game to watch. It was a good game for you because you won, and you need to win ugly games, but it's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the Chiefs and Cowboys game to be a shootout. I don't think Chiefs defense can stop the Cowboys offense, and I don't know if the Cowboys offense can deal with the Chiefs offense given their injuries, but I hope I'm wrong. If the Cowboys can get DeMarcus Lawrence back and Gregory, I'd probably want Lawrence back because Lawrence is such a great presence in the run game, and he can get some pressure, and then you add Gregory. That's just wonderful. So if you can get the pressure, the secondary will do fine. Diggs will get a pick. He'll also get burned, but I'm fine with that. If I can get a pick and get my offense back on the field, that is a good thing in my opinion for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I just don't know if the Packers are going to lose again. They play the Rams, they play the Ravens, but besides that, their schedule isn't the hardest in the world. They play a Browns middling team. They play the Lions. They play Vikings. They play Vikings. They play Bears. Uh, yeah, it's either Rams or Ravens if they do lose a game, or I guess technically Browns, or it could be a divisional matchup where they just don't play well. I'd be very surprised if the Packers don't get the one seed at this point. They just are playing very consistently, and yeah, like I said, I just like how everything's rolling. Aaron Rodgers also was out. He didn't look 100% to me. He didn't look 100% at
Yeah, he
all.
did not. It was bad.
And they won 17-0. And I don't see how the Ravens are going to score enough if the offense can get going. Aaron Jones will be back by that point. Hopefully, Jair and Zadarius Smith and Kenny Clark will all be 100%. I know Whitney Merciless, who we just picked up, is now after the season with a torn bicep, so that sucks. But there's a lot of players that I feel like will be back for that game, and I don't know if the Ravens can really get it going, especially because their run game is terrible besides Lamar Jackson right now.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson will have a good game against the Packers. We'll have to see. Maybe the Rams fix whatever they're doing. So let's talk about the Rams. I really don't know what to think with the Rams. If we kind of want to talk, since we were talking baseball earlier, the Rams are a team that puts their future. They were not really focused on the future. They trade for a bunch of big name players. Like they traded for Von Miller. They signed Odell, and I think that is starting to mess with them. And Matthew Stafford is just not playing at what he was earlier in the season. So I think they had such a great hot start, and then the new players they have added, like Stafford, like Odell, that I think is we're starting to see where they have not yet clicked together. Like with the Packers, they've been together for a while. Rodgers with Adams, and then Aaron Jones. Dylan was there last season. Cowboys, similar thing. They all know each other, so they're on the same page, especially quarterback and play caller. They know each other. If we want to talk about LaFleur with Rodgers and then Moore with Dak, McVay and Stafford, this is their first season together. So that's what I think we're starting to see. But if they can turn it hot, if they can turn on the switch before playoffs, then they'll be a scary team because of all the players that they have. What do you think?
I agree. I don't really know what to think. They're a very confusing team at this point, and I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if we see them go really hot or get really cold quickly. They're a team that seems very volatile, and at their best, they're probably the best team in the league. We've seen this offense turn into something very special with their defense. Also, if they're both clicking 100%, yeah, I wouldn't take anyone over them, but I just don't know if they can get to that point this season. Like you said, they haven't played enough together. I it just concerns me the fact that they just are not consistent, and they haven't been for a while.
Yeah, there's nothing much left to say. So that concludes our NFL opinions of the week, November 14th. Let us know what you thought. Is there a contender you've seen in the AFC? I don't see one. Austin sees the Titans. Let us know what you think about what we discussed. Add us on Twitter, OutsidersPod21. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.